Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of your favorite hospitality show, The Unfamiliar Shift. I am so excited about today's guest stars. We are going to be talking about the unfamiliar shift of design. So a little introduction. This show is produced by BLLA and Stay Boutique. We are the family of organizations leading the global boutique hospitality movement. Thank you to our sponsors, PENTA and Sagebrook Home. Thank you for your support. Really quickly, all this information is on our website, BLLA.org, but what is a boutique hotel? The definition is not that simple. That's the bottom line. But we really focus on what the boutique lifestyle is, and that's how we really incorporate the definition as to what a boutique hotel is. So what is the boutique lifestyle? It's the way in which someone who enjoys a boutique lifestyle wants a specialized, curated service, product, or experience that reflects their modern values and helps support their lifestyle ideals. This can be a business with cultural impact or category innovation, providing a unique sensorial experience or something that simply makes people's lives better. From environments to new-to-world products and services, the only bounds boutique knows are that of the imagination. So you can really apply this to hotels, to restaurants, to concept retail stores, to coffee shops. So hotel is the boutique lifestyle, but overnight, and normally under 250 rooms. That's normally the sweet spot. If it's above, we do have some exceptions, but it's usually because they have a focus on conventions and meetings. Who is BLLA? We're the Boutique Lifestyle Leaders Association. We're the official association for the World Boutique Lifestyle Leaders. We are the original hub supporting boutique and independent property since 2009, now 12 years as an organization. And we are all about community. I know we have a lot of our members watching and those who have been involved with our conferences watching. So thank you for being a part of the community. Stay Boutique is a sister brand off of BLLA. It's a B2C brand. It's about educating the traveler about what boutique is. It's a discovery platform for the boutique lifestyle. The cherry that you see here, if you see that emblem, you know that that is an authenticated boutique hotel, and we call it cherry picked. So Stay Boutique is we're about content. It's all about content. We're about collaboration connectors, so we connect people together who have similar values, whether that's a traveler or a hotel or a business and a business. And you all know we're connoisseurs of cool. So in hospitality, we really try to it's about cultural relevance as well as taking boutique hospitality and making it culturally relevant. How can you support us? Please follow us on social media. You can look up BLLA or Stay Boutique. We'll be there. We do have conferences so you can attend, you can sponsor, you can exhibit. We have boutique hotel investment, female empowerment, boutique hotel leadership, and also think about becoming a member. If you're a hotel, we do have an option that's on the house, AKA no cost to you until the end of the year. And if you're a vendor, if you work with boutique hotels in any capacity, we do also have a program for you. Information on that can be found at BLLA.org. And everyone's support helps us, to keep doing what we're doing with all of the advocating. Reminder, 2020 award submissions, they are open. So for hotels, for vendors and suppliers, for design projects, for boutique businesses, for hoteliers, there's a ton of categories, and you can find more information at BLLA.org/awards. So, and with that, let's get started as to why everyone is here today. I am joined by Kia Weatherspoon. She's the president of Determined by Design, also a board advisor for BLLA, the association. And we are joined by Ashley Wilkins. She's the founder and creative director at Islyn Studios. Welcome both, and thank you for coming and speaking about the unfamiliar shift of design.
Ooh, thank you, Ariella. Thank you so much. We're excited to be here on a Friday, a sunny Friday.
I know.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So Ashley, are we ready to have some fun?
Yeah, let's get started.
We're going to have some girl time. I like it. We're going to have some girl time. So Ashley, we're going to start with you. Introduce yourself. Tell us, how did you enter design? What's your current role? Tell us why you're fabulous.
Well, as Ella mentioned, I'm Ashley, the founder and creative director at Islyn Studio. It's funny, I started in design back at a really early age. I grew up living in like a very normal suburban town. And when I was in high school, I'm sure you all remember when like lifestyle retail first came on the scene, and it was like Abercrombie and Fitch and like those sort of places. And it was the first time I had ever entered a space that didn't like look like all of the other spaces. You know, it didn't look like what it was supposed to be. It felt like it was like a residential apartment. And I just remember being this young girl thinking like, man, this is so cool. I want to know how I can do this and like make this myself. And so then I started taking interior design courses when I was like 15 years old and fell in love with hospitality and like fully immersed into that whole world. And, you know, the lifestyle component of it is something that never left me, that I always think about, like even to this day. And it's eventually what led me to start my own studio. I felt like, you know, you can have interior design studios, and Kia, I know you think about all of this too. And it's never about just like aesthetically what things look like. It's like, what does it smell like? What is the music on? What are, you know, the uniforms people are wearing? And that full like immersive lifestyle experience and storytelling is what I think is the most exciting to me, and how we can like make the biggest difference as designers. So yeah, so that's, I guess, sort of my yeah.
I love it. I love you. So my story is very different. You know, there are two pivotal moments in my life, and I'll only share the one that literally got me to design. And, you know, I went to college to be a ballet dancer, and one semester I didn't get financial aid, so I decided to join the military. And then I got to my first duty station in 2001, and then shortly after that, September 11th happened. And I was on my first deployment to the Middle East, and I was at a bare base, Al Udeid Air Base in Doha, Qatar, and I needed some privacy, and I didn't have any. So I took some sheets, I hung it from the top of my tent, and I made 3 sheet walls around my cot, and I cried for like 15 minutes. And it was something about how that space healed me and brought me solace. And when I got out of the military, I was like, I want to do this thing where I create spaces for people. And it's this immersive thing that makes you feel, like you said, right? I think design or going in and out of spaces is a whole person, whole body experience, which is why it's really, really important. It kind of aligns with what I do today. At Determined by Design, we are design equity advocates, where we focus on creating elevated, curated lifestyle experiences for low income and supportive housing. And one of the things that I loved about the introduction, when Ariella was talking about the boutique lifestyle, it was about individuality and creating an immersive experience. But that's how I got to design, right? Kind of crazy, right?
I know. What do you feel like? So with hotels and, you know, the like sort of initiation of hospitality and how that all started, what do people looking for outside of just hotels, but in, you know, commercial projects that they want to pull from, and what are those experiences that they're trying to create, and why do you think people are going after that?
You know what? I think people are gravitating to the stories of communities. I think concept development is where the magic happens and allows for, no matter what the project type, to really have this individual mindset. But I think people are looking for the story, and it's not just the trends in a particular style. It's how do you curate the history of the community into interior environments. That's kind of, I think, how inspiration is shifting now. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it has to do with escapism a lot of the times too. You know, in hospitality, at least for me, I think about those places where, you know, for us, hospitality is part of our everyday life. We're constantly researching it and immersing ourselves in it. But for a lot of people, you know, it might be like an anniversary or a birthday or like that one special vacation that they get a year. And those are the places, you know, when we talk about memories and how people connect and feel better, and even through like fragrances, like if you stole a lotion from a hotel that you went to, when you put that lotion on, it like takes you back. And so for me, I feel like it, you know, it leans into like the wellness factor and the escapism, and having people have that like respite from their everyday routine. And now we're sort of injecting it into all of these other industries, and people are finding their own stories and realizing that they don't have to like do things the way that everybody's always done them before. You can do all of these other interesting ways, and it can take you out of the norm of what you expect. Like we designed a vet clinic, and that, you know, when you think of like a vet clinic, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, do you want to design vets? I would have like laughed in your face. But when you look at it through the lens of like hospitality, then you think like, oh, wait, we're actually like taking care of people, we're taking care of pets, we're taking care of the employees. How do we, like, if we reposition how we think and look at it as if it was a hotel, now what does the lens look like for a vet clinic? And so I think you can take that and adapt it to all of these different sectors and then create something completely new that maybe no one's experienced before.
I love that, this idea of, you know, taking the word hospitality and applying it to different project types. Because isn't hospitality at its core about serving people?
Absolutely.
And aren't we as designers, like, our job is to design for the people. So inherently what we do is all about hospitality, and it just varies from project type. I love that. I love that. The vet clinic. She says never in a million years that I think I designed a vet clinic. I love it. I love it.
And hospitality too. It's like, you know, one of the things that people always forget about are their staff. And so now I love that, like, as people are really thinking about like, okay, so we are hospitality institutions. What does that mean? Not just for the customer who we're serving, but also for the people who we're employing. And if you think about like hotels, where do people have to go out on a break today? It's like in the back, like, you know, alleyway to something. Yeah.
Near the trash can. Yeah.
Exactly. And so if we can think about it from like a full holistic lens of every touch point of person or animal or anything that interacts with it, for any type project, I think that's like the most exciting thing about what we get to do is use that experience, you know?
Yeah, it's a whole person experience. Okay, so wait, so we talk about the whole person experience now. We have to think about all the peoples and all the ways. How does technology and design become more integrated to make it not feel like such a transactional thing in boutique hotels?
Yeah, you know, it's funny, like the trend with tech, I think, has shifted so much lately. Like, I feel like, you know, 10 years ago, it was all about like big screens and flashing lights and like touch things and whatever. But now, at least my personal preference and what I'm seeing in boutique is like, it's becoming invisible tech. And it's becoming like, how do we make people's experiences better in ways that they don't even realize it might be technology that's interacting with them? So whether, you know, I'm sure you've noticed places have like the light sort of changes as you move, or maybe like it smells different room to room. And one of the things that I am the most excited about with some of the people who we're working with is like heat mapping. And so being able to use cameras to study customer journeys and seeing what is working and what's not working and what's getting used, and like post-mortems on design so that you can go back and use technology to enhance the experience. That's stuff that like people have no idea that they're interacting with this technology, but it's like their interactions are changing the way that we're designing and creating around like the data that we're now able to capture. And so I kind of love that because it helps us from like staying stagnant. What about you? Is there anything that you guys are integrating or that you're seeing?
Oh, so I think it's similarly, right? It's this, I'm going to borrow your language, invisible technology. I think you want to be able to move through this space and connect, whether that's through entry system, keyless entries, adjustable thermostats, but this heat mapping though, I'm really tracking with that. I love that. But I think it's more, it's a tool for effortlessness, not to disconnect. But I love this. Heat mapping. All right, I like this.
What do you think, like major city-wise, do you think that, you know, with the pandemic and newer, you know, second tier cities sort of coming on the rise, do you feel like there's still a big future for boutique projects in major cities, or do you see it more distributing sort of across the United States and the world, I guess, or what do you think is the
So, you know, I think the future is going to be, there's going to be this big shift where everyone's going to want to come back out and play like outside time. And then I think there is still great investment opportunities because you're going to see this boom. And I think the way hospitality was trending pre-COVID, travel was up, retail was up. So I think everyone's being really reactionary right now, but they should plan for beyond COVID. And I think the futures of city tourism is going to be booming. It's going to look a little different. But I think there's great opportunity. Maybe I'm just optimistic, but I think there's going to be great opportunities, especially in a lot of these secondary markets where you see some of these smaller cities like Savannah, Charleston, South Carolina, Tennessee. But I think the future of the cities is going to be pretty dynamic. Yeah.
I personally can't wait to see which cities start like coming up on the map. And, boutique hotels and restaurants and all of that sort of diving into their culture and amplifying it, like, showing us what always existed that maybe we didn't have as much, oversight on. But in New York City, what I find interesting that I'm still seeing happening is this sort of like people using New York as like a test hub for a new idea and for lots of like physical based startups. So whether it's like retail or dental or like and like beauty, it's fun to see like in New York because it's so saturated and there's so many people here. What is this like new idea, and maybe it'll fail and you'll never see it again past New York, or like if it can make it in New York,
do good.
Then it starts like moving all around and getting adopted. So it's I feel like what I think is exciting is if hospitality slows down, and hospitality in the general sense of like hotels slows down a little bit in bigger cities, at least there's all these other like new ideas percolating that we'll start to see, getting integrated into all of these other concepts.
No, I agree. And I think that goes to play with this like pop-up culture, right? You see a lot of these boutique pop-ups and kind of in DC, there's this thing called Union Market where they're often giving opportunities to kind of, these, I have to say it, these online shops that realize like, maybe you don't need that physical brick and mortar space for retail, but having that ability to pop up in different market segments is equally as important. So I'm looking forward to that. And if you don't make it in New York, you can't make it anywhere. All right. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. So Ashley, we and I talked and both of us really connected with this idea of storytelling. What can we help our audience to do to help them tell a better story for their customers through design? What's the secret?
Storytelling to me is interesting. It's always like the hardest thing, the most fun part, I think, about what we do, and also the hardest part. And oftentimes, like, at our studio, day one, what we start is with this like crazy long questionnaire to understand like who you are as a client. Why are you doing this? And so many people, I think, like don't ask themselves the why, right? Like, why are we doing this? And so digging into that story of like, are you starting your brand because you creating something for the world that you've always wanted that didn't exist before? Like, do you feel this like deep desire to give back as a chef and like make, beautiful dishes for people who like, it's just like inherently what you feel like you were put on this earth to do? I think, finding stories is about like asking questions, getting to the root of who the client is, where the location is at, what is the like context of the building and that like neighborhood block that it's on, and finding a beautiful way to weave it all together. And I always think about storytelling like a fingerprint. So, for creating concepts for people, you want each client to have their own special fingerprint, right? If anybody else were to copy them, you would be able to say like, oh, you're obviously knocking off, whoever is like the original person. And that's the goal with storytelling. And I think that so often people will lean into like a style that they think is trendy and cool, but they don't necessarily know why. And then it becomes dated and then they look like everybody else. And so without that story, you're just sort of like, floating in the sea of like a lot of other ideas and you're not standing out. What's the way that you guys are tackling it?
That's the money, right? For me, you mentioned styles, right? So I think as designers and as creatives, style is about ego. Stories are about the people. So for us, concept development is key. We can't start any other way. Yes, similarly, we have that very long, obnoxious survey questionnaire, but for us, it immediately starts with this deep dive into the historical context of whatever community that we're serving. And that's always our grounding point and our foundation. And for me, it's always important to capture the history of communities and people. And if we don't have that concept and taking that story and then turning it into custom design features, elements, textiles, referencing historical fashion points of view, art, nature, for us, that's how we get to the story. And that's the money. And similar to what you said, it's like, that's how each project becomes special, right? You know, if it comes individualized, and every community has a story that's different. But that to me that's the fun part. Yeah. And sometimes when you're into like getting deliverables out, I think designers, we forget to take pause to create that story, because that's how we better serve our clients, our partners, asking what their why is and weaving all that together. So for me, the storytelling piece is, that's how you change the world through design. Is that fair?
Yeah. Actually, you said something that I love about ego. It's so funny because, like, one of the things that I noticed, you know, when you're able to create really great stories and concepts for people, it creates this sort of like North Star direction for the project. And it breaks down ego and it breaks down like biased opinions where, you know, then that is like the story and everything has to relate and tie back to that. So it's not about like, well, you know what, I don't like that lamp, so we're not going to do it. But does the lamp tie into the whole story? And then it makes it like a harder argument. Everybody's on the same page and it's easier to communicate like why you're doing this thing. And I don't know, it just, the ego portion is so important, I think, because it just like dissolves it. And then everything becomes about the narrative and how can you better, you know, support the narrative and inform people and get them like interacting with the space in a way that they maybe otherwise wouldn't.
Yeah, because people buy into people, right? Yeah. And if the story is automatically rooted in the people, you're not making these arbitrary design decisions. There's a reason behind every why and every decision you make, instead of like, oh, you know, that was Pantone's color of the year, right? Yeah. Just like, but tell me why. But it's the people piece and the storytelling. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So, Ashley, what advice would you give boutique hoteliers beginning development right now during a global pandemic?
You know, it's kind of like,
you know, just solve all their problems real quick. Just solve those for them, girl. Go ahead.
Well, I think what's interesting is that over the pandemic, you know, like everybody's been on Zoom and talking to each other. And so it's been interesting, just like, I feel like people are more apt to talk and share their stories right now than they ever were before. And so what I've been finding is that there's actually, like, I thought maybe hotels are going to stand still for a while, you know, at least a year ago, I was like really freaked out. And then what I learned is that there's actually all these people who see this as like an opportunity to move into those second tier cities and to create something. Mm-hmm. And there's a ton of brands right now behind the scenes that not everybody knows about that are about to like come out on the market very soon. And what I've learned, and I think like what's so important is, again, going back to that why, like, why are we picking a certain community? Like, what does it have to offer that other people haven't like discovered or explored before? And, you know, for me, one of the first projects that we worked on was out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it was funny because like, I didn't really know anything about Albuquerque. It wasn't, you know, it's like an amazing city, but it's not like, you know, booming on the list of like best restaurants to go to or things like that. And so when we went to New Mexico, we were sort of like, okay, this is a really special place. How do we understand like so much deeper of what makes it great? And the more that you talk to people and the more I think that you look at natural resources, like in New Mexico, for example, there's juniper bushes everywhere, but there's really no like gin distilleries. and there's no gin involved. You don't even see it show up on the menu at restaurants. And we know, like, in big cities, people love gin, right? So like that seems like your opportunity for people. And so I think, you know, if you're a new hotelier, really like getting to know the city that you're moving into, talking to the people, like finding those weird things, whether it be shower products or mini bar things that you can like partner with local shops and have like really cool curated mini bars as this like sort of introduction to the city or the sampling. But I think it's like a way to like bring your story to life in a town, but use the resources that are available to you because they don't exist anywhere else other than right there in that place. And so people who then visit your property will always have those memories that are tied back to those very specific things that they can't find anywhere else. And I think it will keep them constantly like wanting to return because they'll have these little triggers and of like memories. And, you know, for Mexico, I left and I like hoarded all of the pinon incense because like people always are like burning these like pinon fires and the air is like crisp and smells like it. And so if I'm ever feeling nostalgic and I miss it, you know, I'll like burn some pinon and like make myself like a mezcal margarita. And like, I don't know, it just sort of takes me back in that moment. And so what, you know, what can boutique hoteliers do to bring people back in that moment? And then also let people know like, okay, this location is so special. Here's all the really cool things that we're doing. And now we're going to open up another spot in this other city. And you can expect from that hotelier that they're going to do that same thing and like tap into that and give you a whole experience that you didn't even know you were going to get out of it.
As you're talking, this name keeps flashing in my mind. Damon Lawrence of Homage Hotel Group. Oh yeah. And he's awesome, right? And I remembered when I stayed at his property, The Moore in New Orleans, and to see like Shea Moisture products in the bathroom and Crown magazine, it was like this visceral experience. But like you said, you'll always go back there and remember those little touch points. And I think he's a perfect example of, you know, a boutique hotelier who's doing some amazing things right now. Not really behind the scenes, so I won't even put his business out in the streets, but he's just doing some great things. But I think it's being, I don't want to say innovative, but it's being thoughtful and intentional and to the whole, authentic, right? To that community, the narrative, the why. I love that. Do you still have any of those incense?
I do. I just burned one the other day, actually. But that's another thing too. Like, you know, if we're looking at like a hotel brand, right, and not necessarily like city specific, it's sort of like how can you like know your customers so well that you can create an extension of oneself. Like one time I stayed at this hotel in Paris. I can't think of the name of it, but it was by the Experimental Cocktail Group, and they opened a hotel. I remember I checked into the room, I opened the mini bar, and there's like a shake and craft cocktail ready to go. And then I go in the bathroom, and all of the shower products are exactly what I used at home. And I was like, this is so weird. I didn't like fill anything out. How did they know this about me? And it like,
they watch it.
And I just realized that like I was so in tune with this brand that like now I fully trust them for like whatever they would do. I feel like they get me and they like know what I'm looking for. And I think it's like when you build off of your gut and off of what you want out of your experiences is when, you know, you can really tap into a market. And so often people don't trust, you know, what that gut instinct is. And all you have to do is just ask those questions, right? What's missing?
Yeah. What's missing? But do you think as women, we are inherently taught to trust our gut, that women's intuition? Isn't that what makes us special?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I trust it over everything.
Right. Yeah, especially as a business owner, you got to trust your gut. And even in like these types of tumultuous times of COVID, you still got to trust your gut, your intuition, and focus on serving the people and connecting folks. And isn't that what hospitality is?
I completely agree. And I feel like that's why, like, you know, all the firms who have sort of pulled out of this pandemic, we had to trust in our gut that this was going to like turn around, that we could use our, you know, all of our collective brains to come together and figure out how to get out of it, and like have a little bit of a hospitality renaissance, and you know, using our experiences to find what's next and know that it will come, right?
Because I was talking to someone the other day. I was like, it's always something. If it's not a pandemic, it's a recession, it's a this, it's a that. And I think sometimes it's just staying connected to the people, and, you know, looking beyond and always finding the story. That's what's going to always carry us through. You talked about this kind of the memory. Innovation breeds from crisis. Ain't that the truth, Ariella, right? God, I know so many businesses that have started during the pandemic, and it's just like, who would have thought?
Yeah, I would have never guessed. But and it's awesome. I think like we're right on the like cusp of a really awesome new future of hospitality, and I can't wait to see what rolls out and what everybody's working on.
Yeah, I like this idea that we might actually just be in a renaissance. Ashley, I like it. I like it. Ooh.
We were in a renaissance before. In 2018, at the end of 2018 is when it started really in hospitality.
Yeah.
And I think that this, so I just said innovation breeds from crisis, because it's true. Some of the most remarkable companies in history, like you said, Kia, they were created from a crisis. So this is the time. So I think at the beginning of COVID, right? Like people were like, oh my God, like stop shop, stop this, stop that. But those that were smart said it's a way to re-strategize what we were doing and how to be different and things like that. This was so good, you guys. Oh my gosh. I've been writing so many notes. You have inspired us to actually start some new social media content, which is quotes, because there were too many good quotes in here.
Oh my God.
The future of cities will be dynamic. Style is about ego, stories about community. People are finding their own stories. I got them all. You guys are so good.
Yes. I love it. I love it.
Thank you everyone for hopping on. I just have some final reminders for everyone. Before you go, please support the boutique community through using the hashtag Boutique Strong. It shows unity and community. You can get involved with BLLA through our conferences and our membership programs, and keep in touch. We're here at info@blla.org. Again, thank you to our sponsors, PENTA, as well as Sagebrook Home. And for any inquiries, BLLA.org, info@BLLA.org, and our number, old school, 818-883-4363. If you have any questions, about the association or the industry. Thank you, Kia. Thank you, Ashley. You guys are amazing. I can't wait to hug you in person.
I know.
Right? Soon. It's going to happen soon.
Yes. I'll see you guys later. Kia, see you at another board meeting. And Ashley, I can't wait for a cocktail with you. We got to do
it. Take care, you guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.